have to be able to have at least an equal amount of mass to offset against.
Right, a firm stance.
And you would have to carry that mass with you. And since that is impossible, because the more mass required to thrust away from or recoil against, you would have to carry as the payload, the curve becomes an infinite curve against something to work against. Therefore, it's impossible. So we know that any rocket actually has to work against an external system. It cannot be a closed system like they're describing. That's like trying to, pull your shoestrings and lift yourself up by your shoestrings. That's a closed system, violates Newton's third law, and it just doesn't work. So that's kind of, and again, these are all preponderances of evidence that we're building. We are never going to get NASA to come out and admit that everything they're doing is a fraud. So we have to build the case via a preponderance of evidence. That's all we have at our disposal.
All right. Do you believe the planets go around the sun?
No.
No.
In fact,
Right.
I don't believe that this is a planet, nor do I believe that other planets are actually planets, because when I look out through my telescope, what I see is a point of light and that's transformed into a circle. Okay, I don't see it as a sphere. It pretty much would take a stereoscopic, first of all, type of like our binocular stereoscopic.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Perceive something.
Let me ask you this. Do you believe there are moons that go around Jupiter?
I believe there's something that's going around that light up there. Yes, and I have witnessed this myself.
All right, call it a moon or a spoon, whatever you want to call it. Is something going around Jupiter?
There is something going around what we are calling Jupiter.
All right, so how are those somethings moving around Jupiter? What's making them move?
We don't know.
The same thing that moves the stars in a circle above our heads every night is the
What
same
is that?
We don't know.
That's part of the firmament. That's what we don't know. And I guarantee you, well, maybe NASA does, but they're not telling us.
So what you're doing, though, is you're saying that NASA can't put a thruster on a satellite because it would be moving against nothing, but you have a planet moving around Jupiter, and what's it moving against, and what is making it move? But you say, well, I don't know.
I'm not saying it's a planet. I don't believe.
Well, whatever it is,
right.
You can call it anything you want.
Well, lights can move. You know what? I can take a laser beam and I can point it across the street and I can move it around, and the person seeing the end of that laser beam could say, well, what's causing that light to move? Who knows? It's an electromagnetic emanation that we call light, but that doesn't mean that it's a physical body up there, because honestly, we have no tangible way of testing that. All we have is observation, and all we see are lights. We have no tangible thing that we can reach up and touch up there any more than we can reach up and touch the moon. We see it.
Okay. Have you ever heard of the transit of Mercury or the transit of Venus?
I've seen it. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
okay. So describe it to me.
When it crosses the face of the sun. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. I mean, and
okay.
those.
So we have what appears to be like a little ball, dark, going across the face of the sun. Correct?
I would say it appears to be a little circle.
Yes.
Okay, so we have this object moving across the face of the sun. What's making it move?
We don't know.
Yeah, the same thing that moves the sun, the same thing that moves everything.
NASA claims they know.
Okay, so you see, the problem here is this. You want to claim that everything NASA is saying is wrong.
We don't want to claim that. What happens is if they don't have any proof of anything, how can we then start to pick and choose which items we think they're telling the truth at and which we not. Now, if we could study everything, we would be able to say, well, these 5 things are true and these 5 things are false, but then pretty much NASA would be out of business real quick because they just admitted to 5 frauds.
Yes,
so,
and
go ahead.
And additionally to that, Robert, we can analyze, and this goes back to this preponderance again, we can analyze the footage they have shown us, and what we see cut and pasted pictures that are supposed to be the moon in space that are clearly cut and pasted. We see blatant fabrications of things on a movie set, and believe me, it's overwhelming. We see bubbles in space. We see people in diving suits that are around the International Space Station. These things are irrefutable because we can see them with our own eyes. It's very clear to us that this is fabricated stuff. So why in the world, when we have a mountain of evidence that shows NASA is a fraud from the get-go, from the moon missions on forward, why would we ever want to believe anything that they tell us, especially when their motive for doing so is not only power and control, but nearly billions of dollars?
And then look at the amount of deaths they've caused. I mean, just from people who have gone up against them, either spoke at a hearing or simply made a statement in the wrong way. It's the preponderance of evidence. It isn't as if in 50 years 3 astronauts have died. It's that 17 or 18% of the astronauts have died.
Okay, well, here's a problem I see with that analysis. Your premise is that because they've lied about A, B, and C, that means they're going to lie about D, E, and F.
It means that I need to look at D, E, and F real carefully.
Prove, you see.
If I lied to you about everything, Robert, would you trust me?
Well, you don't know if it's everything. That's the problem.
All right. If you caught me in a lie on 90% or a great majority, let's not even use percentage.
Let's say we couldn't find anything he said is true. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
And there was
that's just like saying everything.
Well, no, it's not like saying everything, but it gives us a good indication. Look, it's like if somebody is telling me stuff and consistently I find out that they're telling the truth or everything that they've said seems to manifest or come into being, it seems to be real, then I will tend to trust that person. Conversely, somebody that lies to me on a great majority of things, I'm going to have a little bit of trouble believing them. It's kind of like the boy that cries wolf, right?
Yeah, I know. But see, we do have jet planes. We do have cell phones. You and I are now talking on a Google Hangout.
Yes.
That wasn't here 10 years ago. And why is that?
We're not saying that science is completely fake in every area, because obviously we can touch this technology. I'm an electrical engineer. I have engineered and I touch this technology. I understand how it works. But when you get into things that NASA is talking about, again, we can't even touch that technology because we just simply have to take their word for it, and they do nothing to even show us anything different about why is it you can see movie set lights in the visors of the astronauts? Why is it that you can see bubbles coming?
I understand all that, but that's a different issue. Okay.
No, it's not.
I understand
because here's what's different about it.
Listen,
they're scientific. They're supposed to be scientific. So when we question their science, it's because they have to give everything that Robert, everything you know about space has come from NASA.
Yeah, I know I know that. Listen, I know all that. Okay, you can question all of it, but when I give you a test and I say, what is making that moon go around Jupiter, you can't come to me and say, I don't know.
Because I'm not NASA.
As the solution. Because you're not replacing what you think NASA has lied to you about.
Okay, but NASA has spent 50 years exploring the sky. They know what's going on. So
and it's not just NASA either.
Right. All these guys are in it together. ESA.
Yeah, I know, but you don't have a better explanation because you told me when I asked you the question, you told me I don't know.
Okay, so Robert, then by your logic, then even if NASA is a bunch of liars and we don't have a better explanation, that means that automatically we should count NASA's explanation as correct?
No, I didn't say that. I just said we're talking about a flat Earth tonight. Okay? And you can't prove a flat Earth by saying that NASA is a liar.
No, we're saying there's so many more ways to do it.
You prove a flat Earth by all the things that we have mentioned tonight, and also we disprove the ball Earth by discrediting, the fact that our space agencies are lying to us. And like I said,
gentlemen, as far as we've been at this for how long now? 2.5 hours. There's only one issue that you've brought up that's going to make me think. Okay. And that is, that's the microwaves, okay? Everything else that you've said...
What about bridges?
I have refuted from a scientific vantage point, and I haven't heard a good response from you.
Okay, what about bridges and surveyors?
Yes.
So you're talking, bring up a guide to how to survey land, and they treat the Earth as flat.
Yeah, I don't know any surveyors who survey more than, 1,000 feet, 1,500 feet? I don't know. I mean, they're not going to do it for miles.
They're still going to take the curvature into account. If you're building the World Trade Center, you better take the Earth's curvature into account. It has a lot to do with the building that tall and that wide They don't
Why?
take
What would the
account at all.
curvature of the Earth have to do with the World
Doesn't
Trade
matter if
Center?
it's 2 centimeters. Doesn't matter if it's 6 centimeters. You need to know that if you're building buildings.
No, because the only thing that's really mattering is how wide is the World Trade Center. It's only 208 feet wide at the face and 200 feet on the side. You don't have to deal with the curvature of the Earth on that issue.
Oh, it would be on every issue.
Okay, but you do have to deal with
It only becomes an issue when you're going beyond a certain mile, and it's not going to be 4 miles. I'll guarantee you that. It's going to be 50 miles or more that you're going to have an issue to deal with the curvature of the Earth.
Okay, all right, great. Then let's talk about like I said, and maybe I missed this, maybe I checked out somewhere, but I don't recall your explanation for how you explain, the bridge over like Lake Pontchartrain, which should have a significant engineering change to compensate for the curvature of the Earth over that distance, and yet.
No, I'll tell you why. Because the engineers are just going to follow the curvature of the Earth. There's nothing else they have to measure by except what the land gives them. There's no point in space that they can use to judge whether that bridge is going to go straight or curved. All they have is the landmass.
Okay.
So what about?
And if the landmass curves, then they're just going to follow the natural curvature of that landmass.
And we didn't even get into, I don't even know if you mentioned, Bob, that you're a pilot, but
yes, I am a pilot.
The fact that when you fly in a plane, think of Hawaii to California, 2,500 miles, 789 miles of curvature. It's ridiculous. It doesn't need.
It's the same principle. The plane is just going to, by the fact that it is hooked to the flat surface, that surface of the Earth where it is flat, where it's flying, it's going to keep thinking that it's flat because it's following the terrain of the Earth.
It would fly right out into space. It would fly right out into space.
Excuse me?
It is not following the terrain of the Earth. What we are flying by is called an artificial horizon, which is essentially a level in midair. Okay, and what we are doing is we are keeping our wings level with, just level. Okay. So if the Earth is dropping out from underneath us as we are in level flight, as we're flying over the ocean, say, between California and Hawaii, we would constantly have to be adjusting our attitude to point the nose down so that we can keep our horizon in view all the time.
No, because the problem here is because you don't believe in gravity. Gravity
has nothing to do with gravity.
Down. Huh?
Yes, and the Bernoulli principle is pulling it up. What is your point? That has nothing to do with straight and level flight.
There's a balance between the Bernoulli principle and the gravity of the Earth pulling that plane down. So it's not going to have to dive. It's just following the terrain of the Earth, and that terrain is forming the gravity that's pulling that plane down.
We are not basing our straight and level flight by the curvature of the Earth. We are basing our straight and level flight off of a gyroscopic instrument that is based and acting exactly like a level. Just take a level, put it in midair. If the bubble's in the center, that means you have no forward down pitch and you have no upward up pitch. We are flying level. And if that is true, if we are traveling level through the air and the Earth is curving out from underneath us, then conversely barometric pressure would then decrease. Our altimeter would show us that we are increasing in altitude. That simply does not happen.
No, that would not be the case. I'm sorry, I disagree with you. That plane is in the gravity envelope of the Earth, and the altimeter that you use is going to show a constant, whatever height you fly at, that altimeter is going to show it, and that plane is going to follow the terrain of the Earth, and because of the gravity. It's not going to shoot up a straight line. That would only be the case if it had some centrifugal force that allowed it to escape the gravity envelope of the Earth.
How can it follow the curvature of the Earth when we are in a straight and level flight? Take the Earth out of the equation.
But you don't know that you're in a straight and level flight because you have nothing to measure it by.
We most certainly do.
There's something strange in your neighborhood. Who you gonna call? If there's something weird and it don't look good, who you gonna call? That's right. I ain't afraid of no ghost.